All right, National College Football Roundup. Let's start with the Heisman Trophy finalists. Heisman finalists announced. We got 4 guys. USC quarterback Caleb Williams, TCU quarterback Max Duggan, Ohio State quarterback CJ Stroud, and Georgia quarterback Stetson Bennett. What do you think, Ted? They get it right? Those are the right 4?
Yeah, I think so. It's just funny that is it the Heisman Trophy Award or the lost your conference championship game award uh, with Caleb Williams, Max Duggan, and CJ Stroud. I know CJ Stroud didn't play in the conference championship, but that's kind of what that Ohio State Michigan game felt like. 3 of the 4 lost their last game. Kind of interesting, but I don't. No one else really sticks out. I mean, maybe Hendon Hooker, right? That's about the only other guy I can think of that should have been there. It's hard at running back in order to be there. It's got to be like a record-breaking type of year. It feels like at running back. So I don't have any problem with the list. I don't think.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing many people think Stetson Bennett had a better season than Hendon Hooker.
Right.
And I know he blew his knee out, but he didn't die. Like, he's still there. He missed 1 game. He's still breathing. Like, that's where I do think that, and this goes back, like, why not just bring 5 guys?
Yeah.
Every year, it just bring 5 people. And I think if you brought a 5th person, it would be Hendon Hooker. And I know that it ended up being, in a weird way, like an incredible season for them, but also disappointing. And I understand that. But he was fantastic. He deserves to be there. I mean, he does. So that was a little disappointing for me. That guy had a phenomenal season. And also, the dude just blew his knee out. Can you throw him a bone? Man, can you just invite him, like, and let him have that experience?
Yeah, and I know it's not a like a lifetime achievement award, but Hendon Hooker has done some really good things as a player, and the last 2 years he's had at Tennessee are just incredible statistically. So, yeah, it would have been nice to see him there. He's not going to win the thing, but just kind of a payoff to a job well done for the season, a big season, maybe the most important season for all of these guys there in what he did at Tennessee. And it feels like the momentum is going there like really nowhere else in the country. So, yeah, I agree.
And then I saw a lot of Michigan fans pretty upset that Blake Corum didn't get the invite, and he had a spectacular season. But I think there's one main reason that I think, or 2 main reasons. He plays running back is the number 1 reason, and not quarterback, that he didn't get invited. But I think the games that Donovan Edwards ended up having when Corum was out, like what they did without him against Ohio State, and then what they were able to do in the Big Ten championship game, rushing the football, I think it had some people going, was it like Corum or was it that offensive line? And that's not fair, because Corum had a hell of a season. But I don't think, in a weird way, like, the success his team and that running game had without him, I don't think that helped his case. Like, I don't think that helped the cause of him getting invited.
No, I agree. It's tough, running back. You've got to be. It's so hard at that position. You've just statistically, you have to be unbelievable, and it's almost like there has to be a consensus across the board that, oh my God, this guy's the best player in college football, right? For a running back, not only to win it, but these days to even get the invite.
Yeah, and I think that's why you're seeing a lot of Texas fans upset that Bijan Robinson didn't get invited. But there's a team success aspect to this award.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this.
That's why I think it's funny that all of those players lost their final game. I mean, it's unique. Like Max Duggan was was really close to having what would have felt like a Heisman moment, right? But he lost that game. Caleb Williams had his opportunity for USC to be back and win the Pac-12, and I know he was banged up and hobbled, but couldn't get it done. What's Caleb Williams Heisman moment? CJ Stroud right there at home, Michigan. Here's your opportunity to avenge last year. Get housed. It's kind of the way it unfolded. It's kind of a weird list.
It definitely is. But yeah, I think as far as the Bijan piece of things, Texas, it's a failure that he was never a Heisman Trophy finalist with how good that guy is.
He's incredible.
He is a spectacular player. And I think that's why you heard Sarkisian say, well, if we were 10-2, he'd be there. He would. But Texas, they were never able, with him on the roster, and as great as he was, like they were never able to put together the type of season where he would get the invite. And it's crazy with just how incredibly talented he is.
Did Texas end up 8-4?
Yeah.
Yeah. They wouldn't have been 10-2, but they would have been 9-3 if they would have just kept handing him the ball against Oklahoma State, so Sark can take that one on himself.
Yeah. A lot of angry Texas fans, but it's like, hey, you went 8-4. Yeah, the guy he's probably the best running back in college football. He's spectacular, but sorry, is what it is. I would assume Caleb Williams is going to win, but I do think, the nails and like all that stuff, I think that'll end up rubbing some voters the wrong way. And I think Duggan's got a chance to finish second. I really do.
Well, I know there's not a lot of people that TCU was, like, for us, fun to watch this year, but it wasn't necessarily appointment football for everyone in the country, right? Like an Ohio State is, or like a USC or a Georgia. But whenever he had everyone in the country watching on, that championship Saturday, that morning, that's the type of performance you want to have, right? And I know they lost the game, but it was so good and so gutsy that a lot of people came away from that game like feeling better about TCU and feeling better about Max Duggan than they had all season. So I'm with you on that. Like the timing for him to play like that and that moment was great.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how many Heisman Trophy voters would admit it, but I think a lot of them watched Max Duggan play a game for the first time last Saturday.
Yeah.
And they saw that and they're like, this guy's awesome.
And who called the game? I'm trying to remember who called the game, but they referenced it. He's exhausted out there on the field. They talked about his heart surgery that he had. Maybe, at first they thought he was never going to play again. As well as I do, they love a story, man. Whenever they can present something up there at the podium, there's a lot to it.
Yeah, that was ABC's number one crew, man.
Yep.
They did game day, did the whole thing. So it is it's going to be interesting. I still think Caleb Williams wins, but I think Max Duggan may have a chance to finish second, which is pretty damn cool with everything that young man has been through. Okay. It's one of the craziest times of the year in college football. Portal season is upon us. And with portal season comes the QB carousel, baby. Let's fire it back up, Ted. Here we go. Spencer Sanders entered the portal. A lot of people wondering, hey, is it NIL opportunities? What's going on? A lot of players entering the portal there from Oklahoma State. I think that fan base is getting a little restless with the whole thing, but I've got a theory.
Okay.
Their offensive line was terrible. He's getting away from those guys. And there's some people like, hey, Casey Dunn and the way the offense is being ran. No. Quarterbacks don't like playing behind offensive lines that stink. They don't. So I think he looked at it and went, yeah, I'm going to see what my other options are. Like I truly believe that. I mean, he took a beating this year and they couldn't run the football. And it was all on him. I don't blame the guy for being like, you know what? I've done everything I could do here in 4 years. Let me go see if I can land somewhere where people can actually block for me.
I know the talking point around quarterbacks is always, who's he have as weapons, right? Weapons matter far less. It's not even close compared to offensive line. If you're a great quarterback and you've got a great offensive line, you'll make weapons out of pretty much anyone that they put out there on the field. If you don't have a good offensive line, it doesn't matter who the weapons are a lot of the times. Like you can't establish drives, you can't run the football, you can't set things up, constantly scrambling for your life. So yeah, and here's the other thing, like he's put in a ton of time there. He's played a bunch of really good football. I don't question, I guess, him feeling like maybe a change would do him some good, and whether it's give him some better exposure or what, I don't know. But I don't know. For some reason, I'm not shocked that he's doing it. Although, like typically when you have a quarterback, like you connect him in Oklahoma State, like he's been there so long, you feel like that's where he would finish, just because of how big of a deal he is there. But I understand on the other side that a change in venue, maybe for a year, could do him some good.
Yeah, and I think he's probably looking around going, man, we may not be any good next year.
Yeah.
And he's looking at it going, okay, I got to be a little selfish here and go find myself a better situation, because you look at everything they're losing, like the good players they're losing, whether it's transfer portal or graduation off this year's team, and some of the spots that they really struggled. I don't know, man. It's not looking great right now in Stillwater. You look at their recruiting class, a small number of commitments. Gundy's talked about, not loving recruiting through the portal and all that stuff. I don't know. It's interesting. Mason Cobb in the portal, Trace Ford, and I know he's been banged up, but there's all kinds of guys that are getting out of there. It's I don't know. It feels like kind of a crossroads for Oklahoma State football to me.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, but with Spencer, I guess I understand it. Now, I'm curious as to see like what opportunities he's going to get. He's a good enough quarterback where, his skill set. There's got to be a lot of programs out there, maybe that have a young guy or something coming in that's like, hey, here's a vet guy, played a ton of football, dual threat guy. He can make an average football team pretty good pretty quickly.
Yeah. Other QBs, DJ Uiagalelei has entered the transfer portal, just never came together for him there at Clemson. We'll always have that game against Notre Dame. Man,
I know. It's crazy. He came in as a backup and looked like he was going to be the next thing. He looked fantastic.
Now, I think we'll see where he ends up. A lot of people think he's going to go back somewhere there on the West Coast, right? He's a California guy, but he needs to find someone that can build his confidence back up, because I think it's gone. So we'll see where he ends up. And a lot of people are saying like, well, with the way he's played, who would really want him? Listen, the guy has physical traits and the tools. There would be a lot of programs out there that said, hey, we can fix him. We can fix him. So I think he's going to.
I'd take him at Oklahoma.
Hell yeah.
I know that um, I like Dylan Gabriel as the starter, right? And I think that he's going to be the starter next year. But like I said, the backup quarterback situation, like you don't want to be in a spot where you just absolutely can't do anything. And I think he'll be a starter wherever he goes. But I'm just saying, like, if you had an opportunity to get him to come in and push, and just add some depth to that room, you'd take it.
Absolutely. Okay, another big name QB in the portal, Devin Leary, had a great season last year. Had high expectations. People were talking to him about being a first round pick after this season, and just was pretty underwhelming there at NC State. And I know he dealt with some injury issues, but this is a guy that a lot of people are going to be interested. Very talented player with a high ceiling. So that's a big one. I think there are going to be a lot of people after his services.
Yeah, he'll be big out there. Another guy played a ton of football, really talented, moves around well, better than you would expect. Yeah, that's he's a guy, like, I don't think he's going to put anyone over the top, but some of those places that have some, like he'd be like a good fit at like a place like an Iowa State, that's got a really good defense, has some really solid skill players, but has been inconsistent at quarterback. Like, he would be perfect for them.
Yeah, we'll see where he ends up. A couple more. Cade McNamara, who started the season at Michigan, right now he got hurt, will be the starter at Iowa next year. He has entered the portal, but he's going to Iowa, right? He's already announced that, so that'll be interesting. Maybe he will actually be able to throw the ball. That would be a nice development there for that Iowa offense. And then another interesting name, Hudson Card, right? There's some rumors that he could land at Notre Dame with Drew Pine entering the transfer portal there for the Irish. And there are some people connecting some dots. I guess his high school offensive coordinator just took the offensive coordinator job at Oregon. So some people are thinking, well, maybe he could have a Bo Nix like type season, even though does Bo Nix have more eligibility? I've lost track of all of this. I don't know. Probably. It seems like
Probably.
everyone's got another year.
When
But
in doubt, yes.
yeah, there you go. When in doubt, yes. But that's an interesting name. And I think Hudson Card's he's a solid player. And I think that I still think Texas would have had a better record if they would have played him in a couple of those games that Quinn Ewers really struggled. But he's going to be a guy that, once again, a lot of schools are going to be after because he's a very capable player.
Yep. I like Hudson Card a lot, actually. I think he's a really good player. Um, Throws it well, really athletic, can run around, can make some plays. He's had some struggles. There's no doubt about that. But God, that game he played against West Virginia this year was excellent. And I'm with you. I thought they should have gone back to him several times and they didn't. But um, Notre if Notre Dame could get Hudson Card, that would be a home run. I think he'd be the best quarterback that they've had there in a long time.
Yeah. Okay. One last thing I wanted to talk about, and it is because, it kind of affects Oklahoma next season with Cincinnati making the move into the Big 12. The Cincinnati Bearcats, they lose Luke Fickell, right? He takes the Wisconsin job, and they've hired Scott Satterfield. So you lose Fickell, who I think everyone would agree with what he was able to accomplish there, was the best coach in the history of the school. He's got the program at the highest point it's ever been at. And you go and hire a guy that has gone 25-24 at Louisville. And I know he was really successful at App State. I get it, but man, this seems underwhelming.
I know. What are the chances that Cincinnati wasn't getting the interest that maybe they thought, or even I thought they were going to get out there.
I find it very hard to believe that they didn't have a lot of really good coaches interested in that job.
Yeah.
Like whether it's big time coordinators or former head coaches that are serving as coordinators right now or serving as associate head coach role. Like, did they call Gary Patterson?
I don't know. That's the only thing about that hire that makes me think that the interest wasn't there, is because I feel like, just like you said, underwhelming. I feel the same about it. Now, maybe they see something there that the formula is going to work perfectly. I don't know, but I kind of felt the same way, and I felt that my first thing is maybe they didn't have better options. Like,
I just wonder if they kind of rushed it.
yeah, maybe.
I like, and how some coaches are when it comes to wanting to stay focused, finishing out the season with the team. I don't know, and I asked around a little bit, and I guess Cincinnati's leadership was a big fan that Satterfield was the coach when App State went from the FCS to the FBS, right? When they made that transition. And they liked that he had that experience with them moving to the Big 12 next season. But I thought they were going to hire someone really good. And maybe it ends up working out really, really well with Scott Satterfield there at Cincinnati, man. But I saw that and I was like, huh. Because the most alarming thing for Cincinnati fans has to be how excited Louisville fans are that he's leaving.
Right.
And I know it came out Louisville's getting Jeff Brom to come home, right? He's leaving Purdue. He's coming back to Louisville. They're going to pay him handsomely to do so. So, I mean, they're basically partying in the streets there in Louisville because Satterfield has left. If I'm a Cincinnati fan, I'm not feeling very good about that.
No, I'm not either. Yeah, it feels like with the way, unless there's something that Luke Fickell knew, and like there's a reason that he bounced, and Wisconsin's a really good job. It's a better job than Cincinnati. I'm not saying that it's not. It felt like with the massive influx of money, the kind of what the Big 12's future is, and how open it's going to be there at the top. I feel like it still seemed like kind of a surprising move from Fickell. Unless there's something underlying there that we don't know about that makes people not want that job, I feel like they could have definitely gotten someone better.
Ted, you want to
Hate to
take a
say that.
guess of who Cincinnati will be playing in the Wasabi Fenway Bowl?
Ooh, who's that?
They'll be playing Louisville.
That's why they
So
got it. They wanted the inside intel, right?
yeah, this is all because Cincinnati really wants to win their bowl game.
4D chess. Now that is thinking ahead for the Wasabi Bowl.
They're actually going to fire Satterfield after it.
Oh man,
Just a weird hire. Like
it is.
hey, a lot of times guys get hired and we're like, oh, home run hire, and it doesn't work. Right. So maybe Satterfield will get that thing, or we'll keep it at the level that it's at and even take it to another level in the Big 12. We'll see. But yeah, not exactly the bombshell hire that I think a lot of people that are connected to that Cincinnati program were hoping for.
Nope. A bit of a shocker.